1880 and 100.9 FM. The following is a special presentation of high school sports. It's the High School Coaches Show. Here's your host, Justin Kenny.
Welcome in, everyone, to the ESPN High School Coaches Show, presented by Crumbach Chevrolet. Week 3 edition here, a Tuesday night, early September, getting right into the thick of high school football season. We kicked it off week 1, just a little taste, and then week 2 hit it hard, and now we're getting into really the thick of the season. We got ACAC and E8 conference games beginning this week, so we can start talking some conference games in those conferences. Of course, the Summit Athletic Conference still humming along. 3 teams remain at 2-0 in the SAC. No big surprises. Bishop Dwenger, Snyder, and Homestead all at 2-0. We'll talk all about it here in just a couple seconds with our friend Dan Vance of OutsideTheHuddle.net, as we do each and every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We'll follow him up with Kyle Lindsay, head coach of the Bishop Luers Knights. They get their first win of the season last Friday night in a close one over the Wayne Generals. Bishop Luers was ahead comfortably, but the Generals were able to fight back. We'll review that Week 2 game for the Knights, and we'll look ahead to Friday's big game at Homestead for Luers. Bottom of the hour, Brent Kunkel, Bluffton Tigers will join us. His team off to a 2-0 start, and they have a big one coming up this weekend. And then Josh Gerber of Norwell, another 2-0 team, with plenty of excitement around Norwell football right now, as they will open up the new turf that they put down and was still being worked on as of last week. So pushing it right up to the limit, similar to what Bishop Dwenger did at Shields Field last week, as they were pouring concrete even the day before the game. But a lot of excitement out at Bishop Luers last Friday for the opening of Shields Field. So plenty to look forward to. We're here for an entire hour tonight with the Tin Caps concluding their season yesterday. So plenty to get to, and let's kick it off with Mr. Dan Vance of OutsideTheHuddle.net. Joins us right now. Dan, how are you?
Doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I felt I got in the middle of a confrontation between you and DC when he called you. It was a little heated, but I think he's okay.
He feels slighted sometimes by his lack of outside the huddle swag, but we're gonna hook him up. We're gonna take care of him.
Yeah, he confronted me when I came in. I forgot what he's even talking about, but it's a big deal for DC. It's a big deal. So you best hook him up pretty soon with some swag, or my life could be in danger, let alone yours. But
well, he doesn't see me, so you should be worried.
Yeah, I take the brunt of it. See, I don't think we're going to get you in the radio booth anytime soon, unless you bring in some swag, or there could be some fists, could be some fisticuffs. So, Dan, week 2, anything in particular stand out to you from what we saw on the field last Friday?
Well, I think the thing that stood out to everybody was how well Carroll played Snyder out of Spuller. Week 1, what did we learn about Carroll week 1? We didn't really know. Was Carroll really good? Was Bishop Luers really bad? Was it a combination of both? What was it? They looked really good. I got to see half of that game on Friday night as I was moving around. And that first half, they looked strong, 7-7 at halftime. But their defense was holding strong against Snyder. Some untimely incompletions is really what slowed their offense in the first half, but I think we've learned that Jeffrey Becker is the real deal. Speed like his brothers and a great arm. And Carroll, I think, is the surprise to me through these first 2 weeks, and just how well they're playing football and how well they're playing it so quickly into the season. They didn't have to take time to get comfortable.
Do you feel that Carroll can challenge Bishop Dwenger in Homestead, just like they did Snyder?
I think so. I think if they play with that same momentum, there's a lot of other things that were in play in that game, including the fact that Carroll beat Snyder last year. So there was a lot of momentum for them there. There was a lot of emotions. You and I both saw that Friday night, some jawing back and forth, a lot of emotions in that game. So if you can play everybody as strong as you played Snyder because you wanted to beat Snyder so bad, yeah, I think that they can give Dwenger and Homestead a game. Can they get over the hump and win those games? It's difficult because, like Snyder, you basically have to play perfect to beat a Bishop Dwenger and to beat a Homestead this year. And Carroll did not play perfect against Snyder, just shy of it, but not playing to perfection is going to cost you against those top 3 teams.
Yeah, today I talked to a Carroll player, and he told me, look, we didn't play our best game against Snyder, yet we were still really close. And he said, hopefully we can kind of turn the tables like we did last year, winning that game in the regular season, losing in the postseason. Maybe they can flip it this year and knock off the Snyder in the postseason. Dan, what else kind of stood out to you in the SAC? We saw week one with a lot of blowouts. There were some solid games. Luers winning only by 3, Northrop by 6. We talked Snyder and Carroll. In terms of the hierarchy in this conference, are you starting to see a little bit more clarity?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more clarity now. I think that it's probably not as even in the middle as we originally expected it to be going into the season. And you never really know until teams start playing. I was impressed with Bishop Luers being able to come back from the week one that they did. I mean, you come in with a lot of hope in a new season, and you take that loss week one. It's hard to fire back from that. So to be able to come out as strong as they did against Wayne, Christian Fly had a fantastic game. We kind of questioned after his struggles in week one, was he the guy there, or were they going to go ahead and move on to sophomore Carson Clark? He looks fantastic, and for Luers to bounce back, and not only bounce back, but then also maintain the lead and the win when Wayne started making a comeback late, I think it says a lot about Bishop Luers' potential.
Dan, right now, 2 weeks in, who's the team to beat in the SAC? Because I think you can make a case for Dwenger, you can make a case for Snyder, you can make a case for Homestead at this point. But through 2 weeks, who would you say is the team to beat?
That's a tough one because I don't know that we've seen Homestead or Dwenger really tested at this point like Snyder had to go through with Carroll. So I think that strengthens Snyder right now. So I'm going to call Snyder right now because they've had to face the tougher opponent. In Carroll, they've had to go through a tougher test with the Chargers than what Homestead or Bishop Dwenger have really had to face. So I'm going to say them right now, but it's going to be too early to call for a while, probably even until we get to Snyder and Dwenger. And what is that, week 7 or 8? It's going to be a hard conference to predict right down until the end.
Dan, moving on to the Northeast 8, we have 5 teams that won both of their non-conference games. East Noble was able to beat powers like Plymouth and Mishawaka, maybe not as strong of a schedule for a team like Norwell, but 2-0 is 2-0 at this point. And do you see anyone being able to challenge East Noble in this conference, or are they still far and above the best program despite some of the other teams looking better than expected through the first 2 weeks?
I think they're still far and above the best program. It's, again, another tough conference, but Bailey Parker continues to look good. Gage Ernsberger was a great target for him on Friday night, and they're just kind of rolling. Those are 2 really tough non-conference teams. Leo's still looking very impressive. They handled Angola, gave up only 13 points to Angola, but that's an Angola team that scored for the first time about 3 minutes into the fourth quarter, and the last score they had was against Leo's JV and freshman team. So they held Angola down, and that's a high-powered offense. We saw that in week 1. Angola put up a bunch of points on DeKalb in a loss. So I'm really impressed with Leo right now. Peyton Wall is playing extremely good. They're trying to come up with a quarterback system, and exactly where they're going to land 100% in their quarterback system will be interesting with Leo. But right now it's all in the legs. They threw the ball 4 times on Friday night. I think it's another conference, a lot of fun. East Noble Leo games are going to be fun. I think games with DeKalb will be fun. Columbia City's looking strong. And then you're a team like Norwell, maybe you don't have the toughest opponents in the first couple of weeks, but to rebuild that program and the confidence and the boost, and like you talked about, when you throw the turf into things, that's a confidence boost for your program. And now you're starting 2-0. They could be a dangerous team on Friday night just because of that.
A Northeast State game of note to me this week is maybe a little bit under the radar. DeKalb at New Haven. New Haven's 0-2, but their first loss was to Riley in overtime, a team that smoked Bremen last week, a Bremen team that got to semi-state last year. So this is a New Haven team that you feel is better than their 0-2 record and could be a sneaky tough game for the DeKalb Barons coming up on Friday.
Yeah, I think New Haven's still a very good team, and obviously at 0-2, they're dropping off a lot of people's radar, but you look at what you would consider as traditional 3 powers in the Northeast State, and it's East Noble, it's Leo, and it's New Haven going into the season. Even though we knew DeKalb was up, we knew Columbia City was up, those were still our top 3 teams, and they were there for a reason. I think New Haven took a lot of lessons. They knew they were going to have to schedule hard out of conference, and not that DeKalb had easy out-of-conference opponents with Angola and Garrett, but I think this New Haven team is good. I think they're still a top 15 team in the area and very much still a threat to win the Northeast 8.
He is Dan Vance of OutsideTheHuddle.net joining us here on the Crumbach Chevrolet High School Coaches Show. Dan, moving to the ACAC, we have 3 teams at 2-0 right now as we begin conference play this week. Adams Central and South Adams, the usual suspects. Can Bluffton spoil the party in the ACAC? We're going to talk to Brent Kunkel here in a little bit, but a big game coming up for Bluffton this week as the Starfires come to town. Can the Tigers make some noise in the ACAC?
I think it's going to be very interesting. That's where I'm going to be on Friday, and for good reason. I think that people may be looking past Bluffton a little bit. They did obviously lose a lot when you lose Everett Johnson, but, Hayden Earn, their quarterback, when he is consistent, he throws a really good ball. It's a chance for them to go more down the field than they have in previous years. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. We're going to get to see James Arnold back in his second week for South Adams. Had a great first week back. They're looking tough, but they also haven't had to play the quality of opponent to this point. So it'll be an interesting matchup. I think that's going to be a fun challenge in the ACAC and really tell us exactly where South Adams stands and give us a hint if Bluffton can be a team that can compete for first or second in that conference.
Speaking of being challenged, Woodland was challenged the first 2 weeks. They lose 36-0 to Leo. They lose 49-0 at Marion Local out of Ohio last Friday, a team that's won several state championships in their class in that state. Is Woodland as bad as they've looked, not even scored a single point yet this season?
Well, it's a yes and no answer to that one. I think that those are tough ones. Obviously, Marion Local is a very good team. The people around here don't realize how good of a team they are. And Leo, after getting a chance to watch the second half of their game against Angola last Friday, I can see why Woodland had some issues with them because Peyton Wall is so good on the ground. He ran over Woodland like he did over Angola. We knew coming into this season that Woodland was going to have to replace a lot of the lines. It's like a reverse of last year. Last year, they had a lot of linemen back. They had to replace the skill positions. This year, the skill position guys are back, and they're replacing a lot of linemen. And that's really what the struggle is. Averaging just over a yard per rush. Ben Reedy not getting the quality time he needs to. He's a pocket passer. He's been working on his scrambling. I was out at practice in the preseason and watching him working on moving out of the pocket and getting around. But that's not the prototype that he usually works with. So if he doesn't have time to throw, it's going to be more difficult. But I think that counting them out would be a little bit crazy. I think that they still contend in ACAC games. Now, how they contend against the South Adams, the Adams Centrals, that's still to be seen. But I think it's way too early to count them out just because the learning curve is significant when you're talking about replacing so many linemen.
Dan, usually in week 3, we've already decided in the Northeast Corner Conference Big Division, it's Angola that's going to roll everybody. Now, still everybody's 0-0 in the NECC as they get started next week. Of course, they have some intra-division matchups this week, including West Noble and Eastside, Cherubusco and Garrett. Orchard Lake, St. Mary's, Michigan going to Angola. I know you're an expert on Orchard Lake, so feel free to go in on them. But you look at that big division now, Angola 0-2. Garrett has improved. West Noble, you look at having Mayhorter and Pruitt and Gross, you feel, man, they could really challenge for this division. So this could be, in terms of looking around the area, in terms of conference and division races, this one, in particular, the big division of the NECC, could go all the way to the end of the season.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. Here's a fun fact for you. Angola right now, if you go back to last season, you're combining all their games, has the longest losing streak in the NECC, regardless of division, 3 in a row. Same with Lakeland and same with Central Noble. But to see Angola at a point where they have the largest losing streak in the conference is just crazy. And that's the type of opponents they're playing. There's a chance they lose again Friday. There's a chance that they lose again in week 4. They've scheduled themselves tough. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because it's going to help toughen them up for the postseason, and that's what they're making a run for. West Noble, I think, has got to be the favorite right now out there. They just are putting up a lot of points. Their defense is holding strong. When you look at the fact they've only given up 13 points so far this season, that's the best in the ACC in the big or small division. To me, though, the NECC, the interest right now is in the small division, and Jake Folk just running over everybody for Cherubusco. He's put up the most ridiculous yardage.
Almost 600 yards. He's got 9 touchdowns through 2 games. Cherubusco goes to Garrett later this week in what could be a very good game. Dan, before we let you go, what do you have that's new at OutsideTheHuddle.net?
We've got a little bit of everything that's new. You can obviously check back over the weekend, check out the Bare Necessities column to kind of see what Blitz thought about last week. That's still going on. We got a new Coach's Corner that runs every Monday. Kevin Mers writing that for us. Another great article about 8 simple rules for high school football fans to understand. And Kevin does a great job of breaking things down. And he's done that for the first 3 weeks that he's been writing for us, and we really enjoy his column. I think the feedback's been great there. Obviously, the power poll for our website for OutsideTheHuddle.net came out today, and then we'll go into a new column from Blitz tomorrow, and then Thursday, everybody's favorite is the picks, and see who Blitz picks, see if he picks against Adams Central again, and we'll preview the game of the week this week, which will be, as I mentioned earlier, South Adams at Bluffton. That all coming out Thursday. And then coverage through the weekend as normal of games around the area, and feature story on Friday will be about Jake Archbold from Homestead. So action-packed week for us as usual.
Dan, always a pleasure. Thanks a lot. We'll catch up to you next week, and hopefully DC has a shirt by then, or I could be in danger.
I'll see what I can do.
All right. Thanks, boss.
All right. Thanks, man.
That's Dan Vance, OutsideTheHuddle.net, joining us as he does each and every Tuesday to kick things off. DC was, he said he has a shirt for you. Not here, as you shake your head skeptically.
I'll believe it when I see it.
All right. Well, I mean, maybe we should just say that the phones aren't working next week and he's got to come and...
Believe half of what you see, none of what you hear.
So, I don't want to get in the middle of you two. I don't know what he promised, but he has not delivered thus far, so...
It's been months.
Months? Man. So, ongoing saga between DC and Dan Vance will continue here next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We're going to step out. When we come back, Coach Kyle Lindsay, Bishop Luers Knights, will join us. You are listening to the Crumback Chevrolet High School Coaches Show on ESPN Radio 1380 and 100.9 FM.
Now back to the High School Coaches Show with Justin Kenny on ESPN Radio 1380 and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to the Week 3 edition of the Crumback Chevrolet High School Coaches Show. Here till 7 o'clock talking high school football. And sometimes during the break we just sit here and we BS about stupid stuff. But this previous break, DC's working the phones. We're trying to reach Kyle Lindsay. Can't get him. So we bumped up Brent Kunkel. We'll talk here in just a few minutes. Talk some Bluffton Tigers. So DC working the phones. Good job, DC. I think that deserves a T-shirt, an Outside the Huddle T-shirt. We'll work on it.
I do it every week, so I deserve a lot of T-shirts.
Let's see what we could do. So thank you to Dan Vance before the break, OutsideTheHuddle.net, joining us, breaking down the conference races. One of the conferences that gets started this week in terms of interleague play is the Allen County Athletic Conference. And one of those teams that's 2-0, a perfect 2-0 heading into Week 3 of the Bluffton Tigers. Head coach Brent Kunkel joins us right now. Kunks, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Oh, we're hanging in, man. We're hanging in. It seemed like it was going to be a washout today, but it cleared up. I'm sure you got some quality practice in.
Yeah. The problem with us is we had JV play tonight, so we were a little shorthanded on numbers, but able to get some quality stuff in. We're there. You know, obviously a big game coming on Friday, so trying to do all we can to prep for the number 1 team in the state.
Before we look ahead, let's look back. You guys knocked off Manchester 43-20 last Friday to move to 2-0. Take us through that one.
Yeah, it was a game where we kind of came out early. You know, we had struggled a little bit running the football week 1 against Northfield, but we were able to get some favorable down and distances. We were able to get our new running back Cody Middlestead out in some space. Our offensive line improved a ton. I felt like from between week 1 and week 2, which is what you typically see. You see that big improvement there. We're breaking in 4 new offensive linemen, so able to open up some holes for Cody and kind of settled into a rhythm there at the end of the second quarter and into the second half. So, you know, proud of our guys. Our defense stepped up, played really well. They had 2 pick sixes, you know, which is great anytime that happens. So coming off a good win for us, you know, but we're obviously looking ahead to a big matchup Friday with South Adams and what we've got beyond that. So.
You mentioned Cody Middlestead, and we just assume that Bluffton is going to find somebody to tote the rock for 1,000 yards or more. We go back to Lockwood and Eskridge and obviously last year with Johnson. So what does Cody Middlestead bring to that position?
Yeah, he's hopefully the next kid. He's over 250 or so yards, I think, here after the first 2 weeks. He's a dynamic playmaker. We've done more this year to kind of get him involved in the passing game as well. I think he had 4 or 5 catches in week 1 against Northfield. He's a lot more like Brandon in the sense where, Cody ran electronic 4.40 in the summer. I clocked him at 4.38, 4.44, and 4.5 on an electronic 40. So he's got some speed, whereas Everett would kind of make you miss or run you over. And Brandon was much more of your foot in the ground speed guy. Cody's a lot more like that, but we're trying to do things we can to get him in space. Like I said, breaking in a new offensive line. So Cody's done great. He had over 20, I think, had 22 or 23 carries on Friday. So shown that durability as well, which is what we like.
And a two-way guy. He had a pick, I think, in week 1 for you. He's a quality guy on defense as well.
And he's actually he's been a 2-year starter already at corner. He started sectionals as a freshman, beat out a senior to play in the sectional as a freshman. So he's got a lot of varsity reps already. Obviously backing up Everett last year. Everett never wanted to come off the field, so he didn't get a ton of carries. But this year he's kind of grown into that two-way guy for us, where we try to lock down their best receiving threat with him and then get him the ball in offense where we can.
Another guy that's turned some heads defensively, Hayden Craighead. Man, he's been all over the first couple weeks.
Yeah, and Hayden's another kid who, has just really developed. He was a tennis player his freshman year, and if you stand next to Hayden, he's all of, 5'6", and 150 pounds, but the kid's been in the weight room for 3 solid years, working hard, trying to get better, and, this senior year, he's kind of earned his spot, and he's done some great things for us defensively from kind of the strong safety spot that he plays, and just, again, a hard-nosed kid who will do anything, likes to be coached, wants to be in a position to be successful, and, he's making the most of his opportunities.
Brent Kunkel, Bluffton Tigers, joining us here on the Crumbach Chevrolet High School Coaches Show. Coach, a little about your quarterback, Hayden Nern. He's a junior. He kind of just seems like a guy that needs to manage this offense, make some plays, hand off. He threw 27 times in the first game of the season. I'm sure that's not going to be something that you want to see him do each and every week.
I mean, obviously, I played offensive line. I'd love to be able to hand the ball off, 50 times a game and we throw it 10. But the thing with Hayden is the kid is a quarterback. I mean, I've been fortunate enough with this junior class. I've coached them ever since they were in 7th grade. And Hayden is a kid who I feel confident calling 25, 30 pass plays and putting the ball in his hands where he can find the open man. He had a couple turnovers in week 1, and I kind of didn't put him in some very good positions at times. Wasn't fair to him. But, I'm fine. If that's what it takes to win is putting the ball in Hayden's hands and saying, okay, big boy, we're going to throw it 35 times tonight. I think he has the capability to do that. It's much easier as a play caller to hand the ball to your tailback 40 times and get yards. But, with the offensive line we're breaking in and some of the matchups we see in our league, Hayden's ability to throw the football really kind of helps our offense tremendously.
Coach, you look at last year. You guys start off 2-0. You lose to South Adams and Woodland. Then you win 3 straight, lose Adams Central, Lakeland. The schedule is pretty much identical. Now you're 2-0. You host South Adams this week before going to Woodland. How do you flip the script? How do you guys find a way to win? First of all, let's start this week, this Friday against the Starfires.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a tremendous challenge for us. They are, I think they're deserving of their ranking. I think the coaches have them ranked first in the state now. I think AP came out there 3rd or 4th, and Grant does a tremendous job. You look at what Grant's done with that program since he took over. I think his first year he went 1-9, and now to have their perennial 7-8 win team, he's done a tremendous job there. So we're going to be the underdog for sure. I think. The thing with our program, the first couple years we've won the games that I feel like we should have won, and we've kind of lost the games where we were quote unquote, supposed to lose. The next step in the development of our program is, okay, now we want to try to win some of those games where we're not expected to win or we're not picked to win. And that's what we're striving to do. I think we've had a good first 2 years of kind of laying the groundwork for where we want to be. We're not to the point where we want to be yet. We want to be talked about the same way that, South Adams, Woodland, and Adams Central are talked about. We're continuing to strive for that, but it's going to take everything, kind of going our way this Friday. They're a tremendous team, tremendously coached team. They got athletes all over the field, so we're going to line up and give it our best shot.
Coach, you mentioned in terms of go with Coach Mosier, and both preparing these. Coach Mosier has a similar class to you in terms of his junior class, his senior group, that he really saw coming up for years and was really excited. Similar to your junior group, right? And you say you coach these guys in 7th grade. How do you temper that excitement and expectation, which with these guys have to naturally progress? Because so many people in the offseason were saying, okay, Bluffton, this is the year. They got a great junior class. But you're like, man, they're still just juniors, right? So you're trying to bring them along. You want to see them improve. But then again, man, you got a lot invested in these kids because it's a very talented class.
And I think that's something where you just try to take it day by day. And that's something I talked about with the guys this week. Obviously, into a rivalry game, something about the team from Byrne and us, and our guys, there's a little love-hate relationship there. So we're trying to build that up. But at the end of the day, what happens on Friday is not going to define our season. It's not going to define who we are. We're going to go out there and line up with one of the best teams in the state and kind of see where we stack up. I think that we're at the point with our program where, we want to have that big game feel week in and week out. And, when you're breaking in some juniors, the bottom line is we're breaking in 4 new offensive linemen, a new quarterback, a new running back, some new receivers, new kids all over the place on defense. You just want to strive every day for continual improvement. And if we're better in week 3 than we were in week 2, we'll be okay. And if we're better in week 9 than we were in week 8, that's what we want to strive for, playing our best football towards the end of the year. So it is a process, but, you like getting those early results. That always makes things easier when you can start off the year, 2, 3, 4-0, whatever. So.
Coach, congratulations. You got through an entire interview without saying anything unkind about Grant Mosier. And let me tell you, it's a struggle for me, too.
I don't know if you can hear it, but my phone has been buzzing nonstop since I got on the air, and I'm sure it's a certain coach from South Adams who's been blowing me up. He's wanting me to stir the pot and get all, the city of Byrne fired up for Friday. But, like I said, we're looking forward to it. They're a tremendous team, tremendously coached team, and, like I said, we're going to see where Bluffton and South Adams both stack up after this week, and really looking forward to the opportunity to play the best team in the state.
You don't know how close I've come to numerous FCC violations. I'm talking about Grant Mosier.
Well, this is on delay, right? We're on a 5.
Oh no, delay, it's live. So if you say something, I say something, we're screwed basically. So, Coach, thanks for the time. Good luck on Friday. Should be a fun one out of Bluffton.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
That's Coach Brent Kunkel, Bluffton Tigers 2-0. We'll host 2-0 South Adams on Friday. Good person, Kunks, and taking on Grant Mosier, who's always personal. I'm surprised he hasn't texted me yet here as I'm opening my phone. No, he hasn't. I'm shocked. But I'm sure he's hitting up Coach Kunkel about trying to give his team some bulletin board material for Friday. We're going to keep efforting Kyle Lindsay, but in the meantime, we'll call Coach Kyle Lindsay and Josh Gerber of Norwell. Talk some Norwell football as well. We got a half hour left here in the show. You're listening to the High School Coaches Show, powered by Crumback Chevrolet on ESPN Radio 1380 and 100.9 FM.
You're listening to the High School Coaches Show with Justin Kenny on ESPN Radio 1380 and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to a Week 3 edition of the Crumback Chevrolet High School Coaches Show here on ESPN Radio 1380, 100.9 FM. Coming up on Friday, Game of the Week, live from Chambers Field. It will be the Carroll Chargers going to the Northside Legends. Carroll Chargers dropped a close one at Spooler Stadium last Friday night. 1-point loss to Snyder. Northside actually looked pretty decent through the first quarter and a half out at Shields Field, taking on the Bishop Dwenger Saints last Friday. Some drop passes really hurt them, and then Bishop Dwenger, once their offense got going, it was all over. But that will be the ESPN Radio Game of the Week coming up on Friday night. Coverage starts promptly 7 o'clock, leading in from the pregame show, tailgate pregame show that you can listen to right here, ESPN Radio at 6 o'clock. Another team that was in a close game last Friday night. It became close at the end. Looked like it was a comfortable lead for Bishop Luers. Wayne crept back into it, and Bishop Luers won by a score of 29-26. Head coach of the Luers Knights is Kyle Lindsay. He joins us right now. Coach, how are you?
Doing well, Justin. Thanks for having me. Always enjoy being on the show.
Oh, you're a good liar.
No. Maybe, I suppose.
Oh, I appreciate you. Whether you like it or not, I appreciate you always agree to it when I give you a call. But congratulations, you get the first win of the season. A little bit closer than you wanted it to be at the end, I'm sure, but a win is a win.
Yeah, a win's a win. I heard your comments that maybe it got a little too close for comfort there at the end. While you like to run away with any game when you're coming off a week one beatdown and you're physically beat up, and you don't know how many kids are ready to play varsity football, and you can find any way to win against any team in this city. At the end of the night, you're definitely a happy man. So, that Wayne team, they have a lot of resiliency. I never felt comfortable, truthfully, on the sidelines myself, probably not as comfortable as maybe some fans or some observers. It did seem as if we were in control most of the night, but there's a lot of firepower in that Wayne offense, and to their credit, they, like I said, they're a resilient bunch. But I thought our kids put together a very gritty performance, and was really just emotionally exhausted and happy for them at the same time, because, like I said, there were some kids that we didn't think would be ready for varsity football in maybe a couple months, and they were forced into action for mostly injury reasons, and they responded. So hopefully the kids take some confidence from that, and we get better this week, and we're ready to compete Friday night.
Coach, speaking of resiliency, one of the week one storylines was that 42-0 loss. Is Carroll that good? Is Bishop Luers that down? And what was the message post game and maybe even Monday coming out of that game? Because kids are kids, emotions. They can hear things. They can buy into what people are saying. To get the team to bounce back and perform they did on Friday against a good opponent in Wayne had to take a lot and impress you guys as well.
Absolutely. The message in that huddle out at Carroll Field was the same that we gave on Monday, and that was, don't doubt the process. You guys put a lot of hard work in. We really feel like this is a tight group that's just building a bond and developing that camaraderie that you see from successful teams. Most of us who've played the game of football have been through those kind of nights. I think Carroll's a real deal. We were obviously early in the season, and I thought our kids, they battled hard, and we ran out of gas. For our defense to only give up 14 when I believe they started every possession on our side of the field in that first half. I think we had -1 total yards at halftime, and to be within an earshot of staying in the game, I thought it was a credit to how hard the kids played and the heart that they have. So we saw that last Friday. A lot of resiliency, as I said, a lot of grit, determination, and a lot of kids that just left it out on the field, and made us, as a coaching staff, made us all proud because they played the way we expect Luers football to be played.
Coach, kickers don't get a lot of pub unless they're hitting a game-winning kick or they're really in the spotlight. But Carter Drake, 3 of 5 for field goals. 2 of those were blocked, but all close-range field goals, which means drives stalled and didn't get into the end zone, and you didn't want to leave without getting any points. When you win by 3 field goals seem pretty darn important out of Carter Drake.
Oh, absolutely. And that was an issue that we magnified when we met with the kids yesterday to start practice off with. Hopefully you guys understand how important special teams are. I asked if anybody had paid attention to the Carroll Snyder game, and they're a blocked extra point away from potentially going to overtime and having a chance to knock off the Panthers. For us, that could have been could have been a very costly night for that field goal team, and we gave up a kick return late. And it's a night we can learn from, and also a night you're glad you have an all-conference kicker, because he was on the money when he got it up, when he was able to get it up, and we blocked for him. And it's just, it's a point that I do think the kids looking at them, I think they understand and they truly want to get better at. So that's definitely a point of emphasis for us moving forward is our special teams, particularly our field goal team and our coverage teams.
Another resilient performance out of Christian Fly. He was running for his life week 1. Week 2, he throws for 219 yards. The senior quarterback had a good night against Wayne.
Yeah, he did. And what made me the most proud was, realistically, he had the same body language against Wayne as he did against Carroll. And it's hard to see. It's really hard to notice unless you're looking for it. But that's what I was looking at from my senior quarterback that first week is he took an absolute beating. Passes he was able to get off, he was usually getting tattooed as he was throwing it right after he threw it. And that's a really good Carroll defensive front. And we were really bad up front on that side of the ball. But no matter the situation, I thought week 1, he competed. He had confidence in his face. His body language said, he wasn't rattled. And I saw that same confidence last Friday. So I don't think he was really necessarily a different quarterback. I think his offensive line got a lot better in 1 week. There were some rotating pieces we made during the week up front. I thought the guys out wide. Coach Stansky did a heck of a job calling the offense. We were awfully balanced. I think we had 38 run and 33 pass. And when your quarterback can make plays with his feet to buy some time, and he was very accurate, 20 for 33. Good things are going to happen offensively, and I couldn't be prouder of Christian.
Coach, another player that kind of stood out for you last Friday, C.J. Hale, 17 rushes, 115 yards, a couple touchdowns, the junior running back. He seems to be the bell cow guy going forward for you right now.
Yeah, that's another kid that just plays a lot of heart and a lot of soul. And you could see it on his body. That kid was exhausted. I'm sure he slept well this past weekend, but on both sides of the ball, he made several solo tackles on Keyshawn Fields, and not many kids in the area do that. I think he uses a low center of gravity. He's up 5'6", maybe 5'7". He's an awfully strong kid. He doesn't wow you with speed, but as much as anything, he's just a hard-nosed throwback type player that no matter the side of the ball, whether he's playing middle linebacker on defense, run the ball on offense, he's going to run. He's going to run hard. He's going to run physical, and he's going to be ready to hit you. And that's something that this offense needed. I think this team needed. They need to see new kids, fresh faces, make those type of nights. Have those type of nights where you can tell they are the energy of the team, and the game is really in a way centered around them just because of the efforts they put forward.
After the first full weekend of college football, on this team's going to do this because of 1 week, or that team's going to do this because of 1 week. We'll hear the same thing this time next week after week 1 of the NFL season. We hear so much that teams improve the most between week 1 and week 2. We saw you guys bounce back and look exceptionally better. Why is it? What makes that week between week 1 and week 2 so advantageous for football teams?
I think depending on how mature your kids are and how much experience you're bringing back, you may see minor, somewhat insignificant improvements from week 1 to week 2. If you got a team that's already full of experience and they've been there and done that, it's hard to notice those things. But when you got a team that has a lot of inexperience on the field, has a lot of his kids on the sidelines, and you see them physically beat, maybe even emotionally beat in a week 1. We told the kids after the game too, there's nowhere to go but up from here. I think a lot of kids just developed some confidence from week 1 to week 2. And, when you come out, and I really think the first drive of the game, it was a 14-play drive, I believe. We had 3 offensive penalties, and those were, I think, 3 of 5 total we had the entire game. So, we actually improved throughout the game offensively. But to set the tone early on, we had some big third down conversions, some second and longs. I think that at one point we had a second and 30, second and 31 that we ended up chipping away at, picking up a first down, and to capitalize with a touchdown to start the game. That gives the entire team, even kids who aren't on that side of the ball, some confidence. So as much as anything, I think the work ethic, I wouldn't say it picked up from week 1 to week 2. Or the preseason leading to week 2. But I will say the confidence the kids had in themselves that, hey, you know what, maybe we can play football on Friday nights. I think that is definitely a contributor to the success we had.
Coach, always a pleasure. Thanks a lot. Good luck on Friday night. You go to Homestead. Big challenge with the Spartans.
Absolutely. We'll give it our all, as we always do.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks, Coach.
Being on the show, Justin.
Absolutely. That was Coach Kyle Lindsay from the Bishop Luers Knights, 1-1 after a 29-26 victory over the Wayne Generals last Friday night. We're going to take a break and come back. Josh Gerber, Norwell Knights, will join us to wrap up the show. You are listening to a Week 3 edition of the Crumbach Chevrolet High School Coaches Show on ESPN Radio 1380 and 100.9 FM.
Now back to the High School Coaches Show with Justin Kenny on ESPN Radio 1380 and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back for the final time here, the Week 3 edition of the Crumbach Chevrolet High School Coaches Show. I'm Justin Kenny here with DC Hendricks, producing without a Outside the Huddle shirt. He does have a shirt on, but doesn't have an Outside the Huddle shirt on. Dan Vance is working on that, I'm sure, right now. Right, Dan? Right, DC? Sure.
That's what he says. We'll see.
We'll see. Stay tuned for next week's update on where we stand with Dan Vance and DC Hendricks with Shirtgate. But before the break, we had Coach Brent Kunkel of the Bluffton Tigers on, and then we also had Kyle Lindsay as well. So thanks to those coaches for coming on. We're going to wrap up the show, talk some Northeast 8 football, and some new digs for the Norwell Knights that will be unveiled this Friday night. Coach Josh Gerber is the Norwell Knights head coach. He's on with us right now. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not bad, and I'm sure the excitement is palpable in Ossian/Uniondale for the new turf to be unveiled on Friday night.
Yeah, it is. The kids are really excited about it. It's been a long time coming. It seems like they've been working at it for forever.
We've seen turf being installed elsewhere, obviously the new stadium complex at Bishop DeWenger, where we've seen turf at East Allen County Schools and some other places, Spuller Stadium, obviously. But is there a mental edge? Does it give your kids a little bit more spring in their step to have a turf, or is it too soon to say before Friday?
It's really, I think, too soon to say. I think the kids are really excited about it. Whether or not it'll be a mental edge, I don't think so. I think we play a lot of people who have it. It's pretty common anymore to play a game on the turf, but our kids are excited about it. It's generating a lot of interest in the program, and I think that'll help out a lot.
And 2-0 also helps out with a couple of road wins at Jay County, at Heritage the first 2 weeks of the season. You guys are looking pretty darn good heading into Week 3.
Well, thank you. We've been telling the kids for a long time that we have everything we need to be a good or a successful team, and I think part of the hardest part maybe for us is to shift that mindset to where, we can be good and we can compete week after week and we can beat some people that, maybe people on the outside don't think that we can beat. So, we're not surprised to be 2-0. The kids worked awfully hard to put themselves in this position, and we're excited to see what the future holds.
Coach, could you take much out of last year? Just 2-8, but man, you played New Haven tough, you played East Noble tough, you played Huntington North tough, you lost to Columbia City in overtime, lost by 7 to West Noble in the postseason. I mean, can you take some positives out of that last year with the kids and translate it now into this season?
Absolutely. I think last year we just kept feeling like we were close. We could never seem to turn the corner, and I think it made our kids hungry. Our off-season, our off-season weight program, we had great attendance there, probably the best it's been in a long time. And I was an assistant here for a long time, and in our off-season attendance, we had some really good numbers. Kids are committed, and they're not just showing up; they're working hard. We're a strong bunch of kids, and probably the strongest we've been since. We're not as strong as we were in 2006 when we were state runner-up. probably just about as strong as we've been since then. So the hard work the kids have put in is really paying off.
You see strength. I mean, is it up front? Are you guys just stronger at the point of attack this year, do you feel?
You know what? It's a total team average. We look at things, and we take a team average on our bench press, our squat, our deadlift, our power clean, and we're looking at we use that data to evaluate our strength training program, and do we need to make changes, or are we making the gains that we want to make? And really we are. We're pleased with what we're seeing. And so as a team, our averages are better than what they've been in a long time. So we're excited about that. And it's really it's the hard work the kids have put in. It's the dedication and the effort. So, we want to see them rewarded for the hard work with some wins on Friday night.
Eli Riley, one of your top two-way guys. Of course, he's the quarterback as well, but he's shined on both sides of the football for you.
Yeah, you know what? Eli has done a great job of becoming a leader. And communicating with the other kids on the team and making sure that they're where they need to be. And when we hit a little bit of adversity, he's going to be the guy that redirects and refocuses and keeps our mind on where it needs to be. And I think that's been the biggest growth that he's shown this season, just as a leader. And we've got other kids who are doing that as well. It's a small senior class for us, but they provided good leadership, good energy. So that makes a ton of difference, just to have that kind of leadership pushing kids when practices aren't as bad. When practices are hard, they're not bad. I mean, we've got kids who encourage and challenge and push. So I think Eli, he's a great player on the field, but he's turned into even a better leader for us all. Other hand on it.
Coach Josh Gerber, Norwell Knights, joining us here on the Crumbach Chevrolet High School Coaches Show. All right, Coach, you got 2-0 on the line, another undefeated team coming to town this Friday in the Leo Lions. What's it going to take to knock the Lions off on the home turf?
Well, I tell you what, Leo's a good team. We've seen the film on him. Coach Sauer does a great job. We're excited to have an opportunity to play them in a game that seems meaningful. Both of us being 2-0. Leo's one of the teams in our conference that's kind of been the benchmark that you measure yourself against, and we'd like to think that one of these days we'll be one of those top tier teams. And if we want to be one of those teams, we've got to start beating those teams. Leo's a good team, well coached, fundamentally sound. Good up front, good running back with the wall kid. They're going to be tough, and we've got to execute with a high degree of excellence, and we've got to clean up the sloppy penalties and just the foolish mistakes that we made last Friday against Heritage. We've got to clean that stuff up if we want to have a chance to win.
Coach, you mentioned at the beginning of the interview the excitement level around the program, around the turf as well. I have to feel the environment on Friday is going to be as big as anything you guys have had in the last couple of years.
Yeah, you know what? I think it will be. I think it's not just the kids on the football team that are excited to have the turf. It's just the general student body. I can't tell you how many kids ask if it's going to be ready. When's the turf going to be done? When's the turf going to be done? Do we get to go out on it? Will we have a chance to be on it? It's generated a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz at school. So hopefully the product on the field matches in the field, the quality of the field. But I think it will. I think our kids have worked hard to put themselves in a position to be successful. It'll be a great environment Friday night. We're really looking forward to it.
Coach, I appreciate the time. Congratulations on the 2-0 start, and have a lot of fun on that brand new turf on Friday.
Hey, we'll do. Thank you.
Absolutely. That was Coach Josh Gerber of the Norwell Knights joining us here as we wrap up a Week 3 edition of the show. Just one of several big matchups in the Northeast 8 and the ACAC coming up this week. You have Leo Norwell, DeKalb and New Haven, I think, has a lot of intrigue. And you look at the ACAC with South Adams at Bluffton. We talked to Coach Kunkel about that one. One we didn't mention, Monroe Central at Adams Central. That's a Flying Jets team that seems to be in the conversation in the ACAC this year, whereas we thought maybe they would fade back a little bit after graduation gutted them. But they look maybe not as dominant as they were the last couple of years, but definitely in the conversation in the ACAC. That's going to do it for Week 3. Thank you to Coach Josh Gerber, Brent Kunkel, Bluffton Tigers, Kyle Lindsay, Bishop Luers Knights. We kicked it off with Dan Vance, who owes DC Hendricks a T-shirt. We'll give you an update next Tuesday. For DC Hendricks, I'm Justin Kenny. You've been listening to the Crumbach Chevrolet High School Coaches Show right here on ESPN Radio 1380 and 100.9 FM.
Podcasts by Federated Media. Podcasts by Federated Media.